Coming at you live from the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters headquarters, this is the Mass Turbulence Podcast. Good afternoon and welcome to the Mass Turbulence Podcast, brought to you by the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters. How are we doing today, guys?
Good.
Excited.
All right, so this is the episode that you've all been waiting for, that we even had to give it a special title, and it's called Women Who Answered the Call.
Aww.
And we are so excited to have several guests with us today. I'm sure our servers at Riverside are absolutely just dying from the load, but it's okay. They'll deal. But before we introduce our special guests, remember you can pick us up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, just about anywhere that you can listen to podcasts, and you can just listen to us all the time. Give us all the listens that you can. And if you have an idea for a show, make sure that you email us at smokymntghostbusters@gmail.com, or you can go to our Facebook page at Knoxbusters, and that's KNOXBUSTERS. Now, without further ado, we're going to introduce our special guests, the women of the hour. So here we go. We're going to start with our own home member here with Ms. Nona. She is a Smoky Mountain Ghostbuster. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Excited for the podcast today.
All right. Now, you know her from the South Dakota 605, your friend and ours, Terry.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on today.
And then,
glad to have you.
Last but not least, we have two Ghostbusters from the same family. We have Hudson and Toddy, and they are representative, I guess, Colorado and Rip City. If you remember the episode that we did with Jonathan Sims, this is the lovely ladies that he was talking about, and kind of the two that inspired this episode. So,
Great.
all right. Well, we're here. So I guess we'll start off, and you all can figure out who wants to go first. But how did y'all get into the ghost busting? What got you all started?
I mean, for me, it was actually, I was wanting to cosplay for Halloween. Wanted to do Abby, and then a friend of mine wanted to do Holtzman. And I ran into a former Smoky Mountain Ghostbuster in Walmart, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to do this costume." He's like, "Whoa, I'm in a charity group. If you're going to have a costume, you should just join us." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he helped me get my pack started, and yeah, then I came on board.
Awesome.
And I do love her pack.
Great.
Her pack is awesome.
It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. I love the lights and everything.
I know. I have hers. She's got the only answer the call pack that I have ever seen up close.
Really?
So-
That's
Wow,
awesome.
I didn't know that, John.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh.
They are
That's
pretty rare to come by, I would
Yeah.
say. Well, we very rarely see them.
All right,
I
Terry.
love
go
it. It's
ahead
a
and
labor of
get-
love, like
oh.
they all are. So
Oh yeah, everybody has their own signature. What about you,
Yes.
Terry? What's your story? What made you a Ghostbuster?
I joined the franchise I just stumbled across the team, making it to St. Patrick's Day parade. My kids and I just got to where we could see the parade go by, and I saw Ghostbusters, like the back halves of everybody, just walking away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Ghostbusters here. And eventually it showed up on one of my social media sites. They probably found me looking it up in the algorithm or something like that.
Right.
And it said join today. And so I clicked on the link, and here I am, still kind of working on all my things, working on my proton pack, but I got a lot of gadgets and gizmos. I've got my flight suit, it's like my dream from when I was little girl just coming true. I really enjoy being a Ghostbuster, and I'm so happy that we do it as a charity thing. Raising money for people really makes me feel good.
Nice
Excellent.
reference there.
Now, did you watch the cartoons when you were a kid, or
Yes, I did. I didn't get to see the movies because I was a little kid. My parents wouldn't let me, but I did watch the cartoons on Saturday mornings.
cool?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Hudson and Toddy, which one of you two want to go first? Tell your stories.
I was raised into Ghostbusters, so the life
She did-
came to me.
Oh, so you were kind of voluntold, and then you just started liking it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. My
That's-
parents were like, "This is Ghostbusters. You're gonna watch them, and I'm gonna explain everything to you. And I'm gonna have this car that's an ecto, and gonna cosplay." And I'm like, "I want to dress up like that." And then it just became a part of my life, and I couldn't imagine my life without it. It's part of the family.
That's cool.
So which
Aw,
one?
that's
Which
great.
which was your favorite movie? Well, not your favorite. Your first movie that you saw.
Ghostbuster #1. Just
Okay.
Ghostbusters.
Okay, so you didn't start
My
with 2016.
dad is very punctual. No, my dad is very punctual. I don't remember when he first showed it to me, but he's like, "You're watching Ghostbusters." And when I first saw it, it actually scared me. Because I didn't like the ghosts, except for Slimer. I liked that he had a butt. That was about it. But
Oh, no.
and then he showed me #2, and I was just obsessed with it, and I was obsessed with the ideas of ghosts, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will say, ever since we got the Slimer from Spirit Halloween, that's got the full mold where he's got the butt. It's so funny how many kids are like, "Slimer's got a butt. Touch his butt."
It's
Yeah.
amazing,
You know, the
and it's
funny
a great
thing is,
way to
I
like get the
didn't-
kids to interact.
I didn't know Slimer had
Oh,
a
yeah.
butt until I actually saw that mold. I never could tell it in the movie. But oh well.
Slimer's butt.
True,
Somehow that
yes.
has become the conversation. But anyway,
All right.
Well, if you
We'll
remember,
move on.
Ernie Hudson was really surprised about him having a butt.
I was,
Well, as a kid.
little kids.
Well, Ernie, when we met Ernie, he picked up the Slimer that we had there, and he was like, and just started commenting on it. So I don't think he knew either.
I missed that. I didn't know he did that. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
He wasn't there.
Toddy, you're last, but certainly not least.
Thanks. Gosh, I really don't know. So I grew up with the movies. I hate to say I'm old enough to have watched them like originally.
me
So
too.
I don't feel that old, but I grew up watching them, and it kind of just came about more so because my husband really fell in love with the Ghostbusters. I loved the movies, but I can't say I was a super fan. I still wouldn't classify myself as a Ghostbuster super fan. We've been cosplayers pretty much my whole life, doing costume stuff. So I just fell into it organically. He loved Ecto, he loved the Ghostbusters. Our family, as we grew up, really started to do true ghost investigations. So we kind of just sort of fell into it, really. But my husband's passion probably is the driving force, if I could say.
But-
He just came up to me one day and said, "I'm not sure I could ever afford a 59 Cadillac Miller Meteor hearse, but I want to take my car and I want to make it an Ecto. And what do you think?" And I said, "If you can take it and put everything on it and make sure that you can take it off and it doesn't affect the car so that we could resell it one day to somebody, then that's fine with me." And he did. I mean, he did it. He could take everything off of his Ecto today and it would be perfectly fine. There's no holes in it. There's nothing. There's nothing in it. But he did it all himself and wrapped it and designed the vinyl. And, he literally did it all. And it's amazing to see the people who just respond to the car. And it doesn't have to be the hearse because they just see the car and it's amazing. And so we kind of fell into a group and created our own in Portland, and it kind of just blossomed from there. And of course, as we moved from Portland back home to Oregon, from Oregon back home to Colorado, we're part of the group here. But same thing. We go out, we do things for charity, which I think is probably the utmost importance to me. And I, I'm reluctant about the community because it hasn't been open arms, I have to say, on from my standpoint. So it was hard to bring kids, into that. My son was very well accepted. My daughter and I less so. Um, but I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the voice. And I can't say that represents every Ghostbuster because that would be uh, idiotic and rude, right? And that's not the truth. But it does seem like the loudest voices have been the ones that have not been that accepting to Lady Ghostbusters. So it's been an odd trip, but that's kind of how I fell into it. Is my husband's really passionate about it, and as a family, we became passionate about it, and here we are.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the taxi cab driver ghost that's sitting behind you rolled his eyes when you said, "I'm not a super fan."
Oh, you probably did. Yeah, there's Phil back there. We had some kids at a convention name him Phil. Like they stared at him for probably 20 minutes, and then they told us his name is Phil. We're like, good. Now we know what to call him. Like he doesn't talk
Well,
much, so
I want to update the Internet Movie Database.
yeah. I gotta say,
Go
that
to
is the first
Wikipedia.
time I have ever seen actually the taxi cab driver in real life. Somebody actually do that.
oh,
I'm
thanks.
I'm
Yeah,
just like I want to come out and visit you all sometime because
you're
looks
welcome
like
I
you
mean,
all have got some stuff I have
Take
never
pictures with
seen.
Phil.
I seriously want to ask, which I know the answer, but that's not the original
It
taxi cab
is.
driver, is it?
No, it is not. I would love for us to be able to have one of the collectibles from the actual filming of any of the two original Ghostbusters. I'd prefer one, but no, my husband was very, we're prop makers. Uh, Also, like we do a lot, so we're just kind of crazy people.
It's pretty
But yeah,
amazing.
he decided to make him um, specifically so he could ride shotgun in his Ecto. So there
That's
you go.
awesome. You know what? I just got another idea. But
Oh
for the
no.
people who's listening to this and not watching, it looks
Yeah,
exactly like the taxi cab
I
driver
mean,
ghost
Yeah.
sitting back there.
Oh,
I
thank you. I'll
immediately
tell
knew
him.
that's what that was when I saw that. I mean, I did a double take. It was amazing.
Yeah,
But I think
he's not a
Toddy,
great
Flakes
you
everywhere.
conversationalist.
I think Toddy, you helped us segue actually into, I guess, what you could say the 800-pound gorilla in the Ghostbusters fandom is,
Yeah.
and that is, like what you said, women being welcomed into the community. And that's honestly, you've actually hit up on the goal of this episode is to actually put faces, and that's why we wanted to video this, is to put
Thank you.
faces with the with the Facebook pages and things like that, and actually say, hey, when you're trashing 2016, there's actually real human beings out there that do like it, and they're ladies, and you're love or hate the movie, and I've said it's not my favorite film at all, but it did bring in a whole new group of people into that, primarily ladies, and that's why
And
you all are here
children.
today,
And
and
yeah.
children,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think
Yeah,
well, I
Well,
think Afterlife actually had a bigger effect on the children, I think, maybe than
it,
2016,
it
but
it does now, but up
yeah,
until Afterlife came out, really 90% of the kids we came in contact with had no idea who the original Ghostbusters were, but they knew the Answer the Call girls. So, that sounded weird. But anyway, they knew they knew the ladies from Answer the Call. That was their movie. And that was both boys and girls, and I probably more boys, which was fascinating. So, young, really our young people up until Afterlife came out were really affected by Answer the Call, in my experience.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
what,
going to have a
go
different
ahead.
episode about this, but just yesterday, 3 of us or 4 of us went to a birthday party for a kid. I think he turned 10.
yeah, it was 10.
But the parent was telling us that was his first exposure, was the 2016
Yeah.
Answer the Call movie, and he
Mm-hmm.
just fell in love. Had a whole Ghostbuster themed party now because of that movie kicked it off.
Well, and that will be
Well,
forever the one that defines how he approaches Ghostbusters from the future on. Like everybody's first movie is really their favorite movie.
yeah, and what fascinates me is, I'll be suited up and, at a con with the crew, the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters, or sometimes solo if I'm out of state, and when people will complain about the movie to me, and I'm like,
Yes.
do you see the Yates here? Do we understand what I'm doing? And I'm like, I guess no movie is perfect. I mean, we could pick apart any movie we wanted to. But for me, what 2016 did, because I was old enough as well to see the original Ghostbusters when it came out. But for me, it was just that, opening the door to the clubhouse. We were no longer the damsel in distress who had to be saved or the support staff. We actually got to be the heroes. We got to put on the packs and go do the things. And that was exciting for me, even as an adult woman seeing 2016. I was like, oh, wow. And then when Afterlife comes out and then the kids are putting on the packs, I'm like, yes, we've got the whole gamut now. And to me, that was the exciting thing about 2016 is that we got to be part of the club now and carry our own packs,
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the whole thing, I think, when I look at it, is before the 2016 movie, we're franchises. Is our groups. Each one is a franchise. We're not the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
You're going to have women in with us just as much as there's going to be men. I mean, we don't have to fit a certain character.
Yeah, we have to
Right.
answer that question every now and then is, which Ghostbuster are you? I'm like, I'm myself.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I will say there are a few examples. Some people do have the Bankman or whatever.
Yeah.
Yates. But
Right.
But
But yeah, that
it's
to me
true.
was just really interesting. I don't know, about your all's experiences with running into people's commentary on Answer the Call. But I try to turn it around positive when people approach me, particularly when I'm when I'm suited up. I try to make it a positive and have an opportunity to talk about how this broadens the influence of Ghostbusters and increases the fandom and broadens that scope for us. So.
And
I'm always
we've met a lot of people who have they refuse to see the movie. Like they'll come up to us because we're dressed up as female Ghostbusters, and they'll genuinely ask us, and they'll be like, what is your opinion? Because obviously you're dressed up, you support these
Right.
Ghostbusters. What is your opinion on this? Because I've heard that it's a terrible movie, and I've heard that it's just a replica but with females, and everyone hates it. And we always just tell them that you need to go into the movie without expectations. Just see the movie as the movie. And we've actually gotten a lot of people that say, you know what? I think I'm going to watch it, because I should give it a chance. Which is interesting because once you actually get a chance to talk to these female Ghostbusters, you'll realize that we're people too, we're just a different type of person, and we have a different movie, but we're still Ghostbusters. Everyone can be a Ghostbuster.
That's something I'm going to probably sound like a broken record, but I never look at, when I go watch a reboot or remake or whatever, I look at it. My parents used to be like, "Oh, it was nothing like the original," and I'm like, "It's not supposed to be." It's like I always say, Superman comics. The same story has been told over and over and over, but you change things. It's just you take the core idea and you make a story out of it. So that's what it is. It's a standalone story in that same theme. It's not supposed to be like the old one. It's its own movie. And I believe it's what John Sims on his episode pointed out. We got the Busterverse, multiverse, Busterverse.
Yes.
It lives in its own world.
Yeah, I'm a
And,
big fan of the multiverse for Ghostbusters.
And if they make another one, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll go into it as it's its own movie. And like, I love Back to the Future. I'd love to see a Back to the Future remake. And of course, that'll probably never happen. But you just take that idea and change it and see how it plays out. But
And I don't understand why people are so against the Busterverse, because if you think about it, you want to be a Ghostbuster. But in the original movie, there's 4 Ghostbusters, and you're not a part of that movie. But with the Busterverse, you can make your own storyline. You can have your own adventures and be your own Ghostbuster and literally make yourself a part of the history with the Busterverse. And you actually existed there. But if you're against it and you say there's only 4 original Ghostbusters, then that doesn't include you, does it?
But that brings up a good point. We have an idea for an upcoming podcast that's going to be really fun. gonna
That's very
it's gonna
secret
put
and
us
mysterious.
it's gonna put us in,
Yeah. We have an
we're gonna have
upcoming
our
podcast.
yeah, we're gonna have our own mythology. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna
That would be
Fantastic.
awesome.
Cool.
You know, I
gonna
have a
be
question.
if you're familiar with professional wrestling, it's gonna be our kayfabe episode.
That's awesome.
Great. Great. I have a question kind of for Terry because we haven't heard from her. But Terry, you said you kind of grew up watching the cartoons, and I did not. And one of the things that surprises me with probably I don't want to say they're the vocal majority, but they are the loudest of the Ghostbusters that say that girls can't be Ghostbusters and whatnot. We had girl Ghostbusters in the cartoons. And it seems to have been forgotten um, by this vocal group that would, just was the squeaky wheel and the loudest. So I'm kind of wondering, Terry, like because you grew up on that, how does that affect your interactions with the people of Ghostbusters and other Ghostbusters? Do you ever have to like mention there was a girl Ghostbuster in the cartoons, or is there any validation? Do they ignore it? In my experience, it's been ignored.
I think that in general, for just Ghostbuster cosplay, women are a very, very small minority compared to the number of gentlemen Ghostbusters there are. And I was welcomed into my group with open arms. I'm one of 2 female Ghostbusters in all of South Dakota. So I have never really encountered a problem with anyone telling me that I shouldn't be a Ghostbuster. I can't be a Ghostbuster. And I'm really lucky. I feel terrible that you've had to go through these kinds of things. I haven't had that yet. And honestly, I haven't watched the cartoons over again. I don't remember a lot of them. But in the original Ghostbuster movie and then Ghostbusters 2, Janine was there. And she was part of the team. And I think that that's kind of how my team sees it is, I'm a girl and I'm part of the team. And I don't cosplay as any of the female Ghostbusters that have been in TV or cartoons or movies. I'm just me, which is something that I really enjoy too. I wear the flight suit, I have the proton pack, I've got some other things, but I am just me as a Ghostbuster. And I really like that about my team. And it's great.
That's
I
great.
can
Look,
get my outfit however I want to, as long as I have the flight suit on. I got hot pink laces in my boots. No one gives me a hard time, and I'm grateful for that.
A lot of
Yeah, and
people
that's a
seem to
nice thing about
forget.
our.
Oh, sorry, Nona.
That's a
Go
nice
ahead.
thing about the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters crew is when I came on board, I guess in 2018, and immediately was just like, I mean, I think it's great, most Ghostbusters do themselves, but I kind of, as a cosplayer of various characters, I was like, which one am I going to do? So that's always what I'm looking for, is which one fits me or which one do I really want to do. And the guys on the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters, yeah, they were just like, hey, cool, you need any help with your pack? Here's a suggestion, or here's a thought, or hey, that pack looks really cool, nice job. I mean, there was never any in the group, there was never any issue. So that
animosity.
was
Yeah.
nice. I mean, it was usually people outside of the Ghostbusters who were questioning.
First of all,
I
Nona,
think it's
we
just a
couldn't
weird
make it without
experience.
you.
Oh.
We couldn't make it without you. You
Yeah,
do so much for
I
our
don't want
group,
to I don't want to
and
come across as
that's
saying like it's been
definitely a
entirely
fact.
negative the whole time, because there are some very wonderful franchises and some very excellent Ghostbusters of the male persuasion. So I've come into contact with some really great people, but there have been those who will be 6 inches from my face and have no problems telling me that my movie sucks and why would I wear this uniform. And it's interesting to me that if I were in maybe a traditional flight suit from the first 2 movies, that my experience might be different, which I find fascinating.
I'd like to hit on that, ask a question. This goes back
Sure.
to John Sims' interview that we did.
Sure.
I believe he mentioned that when they were all there for the Afterlife movie, there was someone there dressed as Answer the Call.
Yep.
And I guess she was feeling pressured. I don't think anything was said to her, from my understanding,
Nope.
but she just wasn't in a good She didn't like it, and she went and changed clothes.
She did. So, I was there. I was in this flight suit, but I actually was kind of feeling a little down that day. So I believe I was in ecto, just sitting in ecto. And so I saw her, but I never saw her change and out of her clothing. And so it was very sad to know that she had come in and I saw her and answer the call clothes. And I was like, oh, yes, represent lady. And then when that showing came out of the theater, I didn't see her. And it wasn't until my husband had said that, she had gone in and she changed, and it was pure fear for her about people coming up to her and saying negative things. And it's like I guess I feel kind of half and half because I've had people who have no problem saying things to my husband about our clothing because my daughter also wears, answer the call. So they'll come up and say things to him. And they don't ever say anything usually to my daughter, which I'm grateful for, but they will come up to me and say things to me. Um, and so I get it. Like I get why she was nervous about that, you know, maybe the possibility of there being backlash just simply because there was such a like I said, there was such a vocal push, and I don't believe that represents the majority of the franchises, but it was the ladies can't be Ghostbusters. This is a terrible movie. And it really came across not as they didn't like the idea of that movie. It was more like you can't be a girl and you can't be a Ghostbuster at the same time. So
I
a
will
I
lot of
tell
love
women are
you,
nervous about that.
yeah, and I'm just like, whatever, we'll be there. But I'm like
Yeah,
that.
well, it's some of us
So
who just don't care. We're like we can handle it. But some of our possible people who would be interested in joining a franchise or being part of a group will not come forward because they're afraid of running into that.
I
I'll
love
tell you something
Jonathan's
really
quote
cool
in
I'll tell you something really cool that's happened though with me. Sorry, John, but what's happened with me? You can see how we worked it. It's like I'll be there in a second. Is that like when we'll be out, and usually, I mean, I don't know that we've had another female Ghostbuster in 2016 ever with our crew guys. Can y'all? I mean, if I'm incorrect about that, remind me. But I'm usually only 2016. There's sometimes a woman in a men's flight suit. We've had that once or twice,
Yes.
but
Well, we've had a Holtzman back in 2016.
yeah. Well, since 2018, since I've been around, I haven't seen another 2016
Yeah.
Buster except my friend I
and we
brought to
have an
Bristol that
RGB
time.
Janine.
Yeah, I mean, but
That's
that's
awesome.
but for me, what's really cool because I hear what you're saying, Toddy, about the discouragement, which really rankles me. So we need all the people we can get to do the good work that we do, and but when we'll be out, and whether it's an adult woman, and usually it's her and one of her female friends, we go, "Can I have my picture with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's represent." Or I'll tell you guys, it's when we've been at Waiting to Hear, which is a charity for to help children with deafness. And when we've been at Waiting to Hear, it's the little girls who come up for a picture with us and want to stand by the girl Ghostbuster. And I'm like, that
Yeah.
representation is so important for them to see. And that's
Absolutely.
I eat that up with a spoon. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't,
What I was
again,
going
I don't
to
think it
oh,
represents it.
sorry, Toddy.
No. It's
Trying
me,
to
John.
interject.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very vocal
Um,
like my husband. So sorry.
let me throw in one thing here real quick, and then you can run with what you were going to say. There
Woohoo.
was something that your husband Jonathan said in his episode, and it goes back to the experience with the girl that I think he said he pulled her aside, and I love what he said. He goes, "Do you see that car right there?" And he goes,
Mhm.
"As long as you see that car, you're in a safe space, and
Yep.
that you are free to to be a answer the call Ghostbuster." Now I'm paraphrasing, but that part where he goes, I
Right.
love where he said, "You see that car right there, you're in a safe space,"
Yes.
and
And that
that
this has
stuck with
been
me.
important to us. Absolutely. And we've told that to kids, we've told that to adults, definitely to the ladies who want to be part of this franchise but are very nervous about, joining. Um, our space has always been a safe space for all Ghostbusters, and that's important to us. We want to make sure that everybody, it doesn't matter if you grew up on the cartoons, it doesn't matter if you grew up with movies, if Answer the Call is it, if Afterlife is your first movie, like to us it doesn't matter. I mean, even comic books, like to us it doesn't matter. Whatever has made you passionate about Ghostbusters is safe with our Ecto. So around us, you're in a good place.
Like
Thanks.
Yeah, how can any of this be bad? That's what I always come back to. How can being
Right.
a Ghostbuster of any shape, form, or fashion be a bad thing?
And it shouldn't be. And then I think that's part of like the big concern is it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be anybody who feels that they can't represent who they are or be a part of a fandom because they're afraid of backlash. So
right.
Yeah, I'd like to think that our Ecto is a safe space, but then I think about the sticker on it that says "Warning: Parts may fall off." So
I think every Ecto should have that sticker, honestly.
Yeah, disclaimer. Yes.
That's
Well, and what I
excellent.
loved about Afterlife is not only did we have a young, young person, a kid as, our primary protagonist, really,
Mhm.
kind of the spearhead of the group, but then we had it was a girl, right? I mean, Hudson's like, yes. So it really got the age group plus the gender, that combo in her was, I was like, oh, and then, let alone, and then the other, adolescent teenagers and kids who were involved in Afterlife as heroes. And I was like, man, we're expanding again, in terms of who can be a hero. And
Yes.
I thought that was so wonderfully exciting about Afterlife.
Right.
And
I
speaking
don't
of
think they
Logan
could have.
Kim, sorry,
Go
speaking
ahead.
of podcast and Logan Kim, I want to put another shout out there for him that we're still trying
Yeah.
to get you to get on our episode 46. So we're approaching that. We're still a ways away. But Logan,
Great.
hashtag get Logan Kim on the Mass Turbulence 46 episode podcast. So sorry. I
Heck
digress.
yeah.
That's
Oh
so
no,
that was
yeah.
so great.
So for all you all out there, 605 and Colorado, yes, post on your Facebook pages. The Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters is wanting Logan Kim on their podcast, and maybe eventually he'll see it. We'll start
That's
that.
awesome.
We'll start that. We'll start a petition. We'll petition him through Facebook to finally get his attention.
We just to hashtag Twitter and get it trending. That's all.
Yeah,
There
there
you
we
go.
go. There we go. That would be
46th
awesome.
episode.
I have a question though, by the way. Speaking of the stars of the various films, I mean, I know that, Ernie Hudson has been, and we've got, I wasn't there yet, so I didn't get to meet him, but I also know that a couple of the guys went up to meet Dan Aykroyd and stuff. They did this road trip and all this, and I think it's interesting because personally, I would love to have a picture with Melissa McCarthy while I'm doing this, right? I think that would just be fun.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is I've never on any I go to various cons within driving range generally, because who wants to put this on an airplane? But I go to various cons and I don't ever see any of the female Ghostbusters, the women Ghostbusters at the cons and I'm like, I wonder if it has to do with the backlash. I mean,
That is
I wonder
correct.
if
That's what I'm thinking.
It
It's
absolutely
the
is.
backlash.
Yep.
It's we've actually had a moment, both my mom and I. We were with a group of a bunch of male Ghostbusters. I don't remember which group, but everyone wanted a picture because we were doing a fundraiser for some money, and everyone wanted a picture. And they said, "Okay, we'll get a picture together, but then we'll get a picture without the girls."
Ooh, that
And
hurts.
we were just like, why? Like,
Yeah,
don't you
thanks,
want
but
this
no thanks.
representation? And we let them have their picture because we didn't want to argue with it.
Right.
But
It's not worth
we
it.
were just kind of shocked because they literally said, we want one, we'll take one with you, but then we want one without. And I think that backlash is what makes them afraid. I've actually had young girls come up to me and they're like, I love the Ghostbusters. I love the original Ghostbusters in the 2016, and I want to be an original Ghostbuster. And I'm like, well, you should do it. But then they tell me something and it's heartbreaking to me because they go, well, I want to, but I'm afraid because I'm not a boy. And I've had girls say, or boys say the same thing to me where they're like, I love the 2016. Holtzman is my favorite. I want to dress up as a 2016, but I'm a boy. And it shouldn't matter if you have a favorite Ghostbuster movie. Dress up as that, like, become a Ghostbuster. Be whatever Ghostbuster you want to be, because it doesn't matter if it's Ghostbusters, Answer the Call, or like Afterlife. It doesn't matter. You're a Ghostbuster, and if you want to be a Ghostbuster, then be a Ghostbuster. The only thing stopping you is yourself.
Hey,
Yeah, I do
Chris
know a couple
Hemsworth
guys that
dressed
dressed
up
as
in
the
the
2016.
suit. I mean, and he's as dude as you
Yeah.
can get, you know.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
I would like to
Yeah.
put my 2 cents in on why they don't come to conventions. I've been to a lot of conventions. I've known people who run the conventions. So I do know kind of how bringing the celebrities and stuff work a little bit. Got to balance it with who's like, if you bring in big names like William Shatner or Chuck Norris, somebody like that, they're going to be a huge draw. You have to pay them a lot of money.
I do.
And people like that are generally retired, and they just do it, mostly for fun and stuff. But you got like Melissa McCarthy and
Kristen
terrible
Wiig,
with names, Kristen Wiig and
Kate McKinnon.
Holtzman, Kate McKinnon. Yeah, I mean,
Jillian.
she's still on Saturday Night Live, so
Right.
they're just extremely busy for one. So they're like, when they get their free time, they get their free time. But as a promoter, you have to balance the cost of bringing them in. Will they generate enough revenue to help pay that off? So,
Well, and I think that's part of it.
but I will say, Leslie Jones, based on her social media in the past, I would think that she would be reluctant to do it just because of the backlash. I don't think the other three, that's the case. I don't know that for a fact. I just say they're too busy, and the money. That's be my guess why they haven't done it.
Right. I wouldn't say that they're afraid of, like, the guests themselves would be afraid of backlash themselves, but like you're saying, the people doing these conventions really have to take into consideration who is going to be drawn in by these celebrities that they're bringing in. And what's hard is they've done great, wonderful other works of art, in films and TV and that type of thing. But is it worth the cost to bring in Kate McKinnon, knowing that a good core of people are not going to come and see her because she was a Ghostbuster? They might see her if they're fans of Saturday Night Live, but they might not. And so you really do have to take into consideration, is she a big enough draw? Because the movie had so much backlash, you're not going to get a large number of Ghostbuster fans coming to your convention to see her, which is tragic because
And
a lot of us who like Answer the Call would love to see these people, but they just won't bring revenue.
Yeah, I would guess that to bring Kate McKinnon in for a 2-day convention here would be between $80,000 to $100,000. That's a lot of autographs you've got to pick up. Whereas also recently, we had a convention here a few months ago. Actually, it's like October. Ed Begley Jr. was there, and
awesome.
so I was like, I went up and talked to him. So he was a member of the cast. He does other stuff, but he's probably one that's not the $80,000 to bring in. So no offense to Ed, but he was a funny guy. He's on Young Sheldon now and stuff. So I got to meet him, and that's the reason I went to go meet him, is because of Answer the Call. So
now, one thing I can verify, because I was speaking with a guy that was trying to promote a festival that's coming up later this year, and he said they were wanting to try to get Ernie Hudson to come, but Ernie's fee was like $10,000, and they just didn't have that kind of fundage. But that kind of gives you an idea of what probably somebody who's a more active actress or actor would charge to come. But I do know that's what his fee was.
And that also varies too. You could give them a lower appearance fee, but they would get a higher profit of how much stuff they sign and photos and stuff like that.
They would charge more for the autographs.
It all varies in their contracts. Yeah.
I was just curious. I mean, I was just curious as to why you all thought we never. I mean, I know some of them are still very busy actors, so
And I think
I'm
that's
just curious as to what you all thought.
I would say that they are not going to be enough of a draw for the people coming into the conventions, for them to really pay the price that it's going to cost to bring them there. That's my opinion.
Like if you brought Chris Hemsworth in.
Oh shoot! They would have lines for blocks and blocks.
I would wait in line for 2 days to meet him.
Yeah. I'd wait in line for a year. Wouldn't matter. I loved him in Answer the Call. I love the fact that he did not take the role seriously. He really
Yes.
approached it as kind of an airhead, and I love that he doesn't mind that, to take on that kind of role, being this, superhero actor. And then he
Yeah.
comes across as this, did you want me listening to sax?
mean,
like hilarious.
Should
I
be a
absolutely love
doctor
Chris
playing
Hemsworth,
sax, holding
but that's
holding
my
up the
one of my
paper.
two biggest that's one of my two biggest issues was just how dumb his character was.
I
mean,
loved
it
it.
just
I love the
I
fact
thought it
that
was
he was a
hilarious.
complete idiot.
Yes.
he was so dumb though to me. It just took me out of the realm of possibility of you get in a zone of your believability, and just that was so
Oh,
it pulled me out of it.
I think what cracked me up is I know he's a very intelligent individual, and 90% of people you meet are going to be smarter than this guy, right? But I think it's just the fact that he almost was like the cute buff guy that really didn't have much intelligence, and so he sort of fell into the job. It's not like somebody really wanted to answer this ad and take on this job. He was really the only guy that shows up, and they're like, "We need somebody." And if he can answer
It
the
was
phone,
funny,
then it might
He didn't
work,
really in there.
but
He
like
couldn't even
and
answer
I
the
loved
phone.
it.
Just
being
put
in
a
a
Yeah.
hide
steady
and seek
paycheck in
tournament.
it.
Yeah, right. I mean, literally, that's the whole thing is he's like, "I need a job," and yeah, I can't answer the phone because it's in the fish tank. Well,
But
there
it
you
was funny
go.
what he did.
Oh, that
His
was
delivery,
loud.
I didn't like the character, but his delivery was great. Like, I'm in a
Yeah.
hide and seek tournament. We're in the finals or
Yeah, we're in the
semifinals. I mean,
semis.
And
Yes.
not to be too pedantic about it, but I really think that part of what he was doing there was the ridiculous. It was doing a caricature of all the ridiculous blonde secretary stereotypes
Absolutely.
that we get
Absolutely.
for women. He's like, oh, let's apply these to the guys and look how stupid this is.
that's actually
Absolutely.
a
And when
good.
he did
That
that,
is
and
a
some of
very
the
good point.
ridiculous, I mean, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he went there. But he did.
I
and thought it
loved
was
that he went
hilarious.
there. Yeah.
I do
It
too.
was
That-
great.
I take it he's
That's
the
an
type of
interesting
person
take
that
on
doesn't
that.
take himself so seriously that
Yeah.
he everything I've seen, he really seems like a really salt of the earth kind of person. He doesn't seem arrogant at all, to be honest with you.
No.
And and to be able to take, especially after playing Thor, he'd been Thor for several years when he took that role. I mean, it was kind of like, that he obviously, was very secure in his, acting, and just the fact that, he didn't mind playing the blonde buff secretary kind of thing. It was,
Right. Yeah, I mean, he did. He played the typical kind of airhead secretary that looks cute. He just happened to be male.
Yeah. Terry, what was your opinion about his character or his role in that role in the movie?
I got a lot of laughs from his character, and I appreciated it a lot because it not only did Kate McKinnon bring a lot of fun to the movie, but he did too. So it was a good mix of male and female comedy source, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole he's not a piece of meat. You can't treat him that way. I was like, oh, yes, they went there.
Is this a big old robot?
Oh my
Well,
God.
and
it's too
it
funny.
did kind of give Erin's character a chance to kind of portray her inner Venkman a little bit.
It
You know,
did.
that I think it kind of gave, I think she was kind of a little bit of the Venkman side of Answer the Call, as well. I don't know who you could say Holtzman really was. I mean, I guess she was the Egon, but
She was like a
didn't share
Venkman
his.
Egon mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She
they
had
were
the
honestly there were
humor,
a
but
lot
the
of
smarts.
mashup. There was a lot of mashups of the character. Not each one of them didn't portray just have one personality trait of the originals.
Yes.
Well, that's really why I don't think it was a complete reboot.
No,
True.
They
yeah.
didn't have the original names, not the original enemies.
No.
Yeah.
Things were different.
Yeah, I think they did a disservice to themselves calling it a reboot. They really should not. A reboot traditionally is kind of taking the same story and redoing it and kind of trying to take those characters and recreating them. And this was a whole new universe, which is, I just wish they would have not used reboot, because I think
Yeah,
in the
I'm
end
just
that
sitting here.
Yeah.
term killed it immediately.
Well, there's a great explanation of the difference between a remake and a reboot in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie. but it is not safe for work, so we'll get that. But they do
Well,
a
and
great
I think I
definition
don't
of
even
reboot
think of
versus remake.
yeah, and I don't even think of Answer the Call is I don't think of their characters as which one did they align with from the original four. I really went into it saying, oh, these are four new characters. They don't have to fulfill the roles that the original four did because these are their own. They're their own characters. They have their own personas, and I didn't really try to line them up in any way with the originals because this was its own thing, its
Well,
own gig.
I don't know. To
Well,
me,
really, what I went in to see and thinking I was going to see was at the very end of the movie when that portal opened up. I thought their car was going to land on Gozer's Tower in the original movie.
Oh.
I thought it was going to cross up somewhere. I really did.
Right. I
Well,
do
they
like
saved
how
that
they
for the
kind
comic
of
books.
included, though, that little piece at the end. They did. Yeah, that's in the comics. But, I mean, at the end when they're like, hey, what about this thing that happened? And they kind of reference it. It would have been great if it had been better received, by the fandom, because we really could see where that other universe would have taken it next. Because they kind of leave it open.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. You could have had it. Maybe the car would have fallen on the temple. Who knows?
So
yeah, but to me,
we're
though, the way I looked at it, it was definitely a carbon copy. You had Kate McKinnon was Egon, Ray was Yates, Gabby. I'm so bad with names. And Venkman, I thought was
Well,
Oh,
Kristen Wiig,
goodness.
right?
yeah,
Kristen
my
Wiig. That's
mind
it.
my mind
I'm
blanked
sorry.
too, man. I'm sorry.
And
Aaron.
and
She was
and
Aaron.
Patty,
Yeah.
and Patty was the Winston. To me, it was almost like
Yeah.
a carbon copy, at least the essence of it, and the fact that they still put like one black person, I just to me it almost made it too obvious.
Yeah, I think they were
Well,
trying
and
to
it's
still
still a
appeal to the
Ghostbuster
original.
movie.
Well, and
Yeah, I think they were trying to do that. Sorry.
you kind of take the whole if you take the multiverse theory and kind of run with it, there's like infinite number of universes out there, and and each one of them can be just a slight variation off of another. So I mean, I could definitely see like they being just the female versions of the original four. If you take kind of like that multiverse theory and everything, because well, I'm a bit of a DC Comics person, and I've been reading multiverse stuff since forever, and
Oh yeah, all the comics do that. So does
and
Marvel.
so
Absolutely.
but anyways, so we are about 48 minutes into this, and I think the last question I want to ask you all before we wrap it up, though, is each of y'all, if you all could say something to the Ghostbusters community, and each one of y'all can have a chance to speak up on that. What would you say? What is your message as a woman who answered the call? What would be your message to the Ghostbusters community?
Everyone can be a Ghostbuster. Plain and simple. Everyone can be a Ghostbuster. And they can be like, but what? No. Everyone can be a Ghostbuster. But what about? No. Everyone can be a Ghostbuster. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what movie you saw first. Everyone can be a Ghostbuster. Because the symbol did not change and neither did the message.
well put.
I like
There you
that.
go.
The symbol almost changed to a ghost holding a hot dog, but
Well, yeah.
Well, or a hot dog floating over a house, that works too.
Yeah, or 711.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, for me, sorry, she's got me cracking up. For me, I don't. She kind of summed it all up. My daughter's great. But I kind of want to say out to our fellow franchises and our fellow Ghostbusters, rather than looking at us like lady Ghostbusters or women or girls who are interested as being Ghostbusters, we're not your adversary. We're not trying to take away your childhood. We're not trying to ruin your fandom. We just happen to like what you like. And it's no different than us all playing on the playground and the girls playing with worms instead of dolls. Like, we can all play together in this universe. So I'd really like to just, that vocal like persons out there from the franchises that were so against the idea that women couldn't be part of the Ghostbuster verse. I wish they'd just be a little more open. You're entitled to your feelings. That if you didn't like the movie, great. That's your opinion. There are plenty of people who love the movie. There are plenty of people who hate the movie. There are plenty of people who love different pieces. Some people love the cartoon, some people don't. But I'd really just like to see it be more open and, come together on the common ground that we all are passionate about Ghostbusters. And it shouldn't matter what our genders are or our backgrounds or, none of the disabilities, none of anything that makes us different. What makes us the same is we love Ghostbusters. So, welcome us into that universe with you because we just want to be there and be a part of it with you. We're not trying to take it from you. We're not trying to change it. We just want to be part of it. So, I don't know. Be open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're part of a team. We're Ghostbusters. We're a family, as dysfunctional as we may be sometimes.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all different. We're all unique. We all have our quirks. Some of us are female. Some of us might be in a wheelchair. Some of us, we're all from different walks of life. And
Absolutely.
I can sure appreciate the good people that we have that are Ghostbusters. And I really want to thank everybody for just welcoming me to my team with open arms. I didn't have a hard time becoming a Ghostbuster. And I think that's what it should be for everybody. We should just be accepted the way we are.
Yeah. And I think for me, what I would say is, in addition, and you all, kudos for that those are lovely messages, and solid. But I would also add is like when you exclude anyone, women included, girls included, you're missing out on some contributions. You're missing out
Mhm.
on some talents and skills. You're missing out on some perspectives that can make your organization even better. And so by really kind of holding that gate, being a gatekeeper, and by trying to keep the women out, or being uncomfortable with female Ghostbusters being there. But yeah, I remember. I think it was that I'd heard that term. I was like, I had a different term for it, but I like that even better. But basically, by trying to exclude, or not being comfortable with women around, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff that we can contribute.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know what we'd do without some of your talents there, Nona.
Yeah. I mean,
Thank
for those who don't
Definitely.
know, Nona is my right hand on the team, and honestly,
Hey.
we are very much. I consider her very much my equal, and there is a lot of things that we do that, I mean, I'm just like, I'll be all up for something, and Nona will be like, wait a minute now, have you thought about this? And I'll be like,
She's common sense
yeah,
and
okay.
reason.
You've got a point, Nona. You got a point. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll slow this down and we'll rethink this, and then we'll throw. So Nona and I have often said that we can always disagree on something, and then we come back around and we're still friends. And
Absolutely.
and I think that's the way it should always be. And so thank you very much for all that you do with the Smoky Mountain Ghostbusters, Nona. And
Yay.
ladies, thank you for all the contributions that you have made to your teams. And today for this podcast / live stream / who knows where it's going to go now. But we have really enjoyed having you all on here. And I hope we can come back maybe a year from now and we'll be like, you know what? That episode made differences, and here's what happened. And that's
Love that.
the hope. And
Alexa, 1 year from now, remind me to revisit the Women in Ghostbusting podcast.
yes, yes. And Hudson, yeah, I think we need to have you on more often because you are definitely some great comedy. You need to have your own podcast besides your Twitch channel.
Thank you.
so-
I think I'll do that.
I love it.
All right.
Well, thank you
yeah.
all for highlighting, giving us a chance, giving us a platform.
Yes,
Yeah, thank
absolutely.
you for giving us a chance to get our word out, because a lot of Ghostbusters, or not a lot, but like the majority, they don't want the voice out because they want to be louder, So just giving the chance to be able to be here and just talk and just see that we're just people that want to be Ghostbusters and love it as much as you guys. It's really awesome. So thank you so much, you guys.
No, you're welcome. And
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
we hope to hear more from you all soon. And but thanks for being on the show. Well, guys and gals,
Absolutely.
this has been another great episode, and this episode was The Women Who Answered the Call. Thank you for listening, and we hope you all have a great upcoming week. Good afternoon, and God bless, my friends.